When it comes to this rap shit, there's tons of hundreds of rappers. Why would you dummies come after and test someone of my stature? My fan base is organic, how I planned it, it comes natural. I think my name should be Hall of Fame jersey hung in the rafters. Unsung hero from the eastern part of NC Pitt County. With this talent, what this industry's got against me, I refuse to sit silent. Like a suburban kid grounded, I'm outspoken and disrespectful. So many fly-by-nights in this game, I smell a jet fuel. They don't vet fools, it's obvious they novice. They ain't rocking with us, that's a grave mistake. We making Bobby Fischer chess moves. It took so long that they confused us with the rooks and pawns. They just hear the food for thought, they don't see what we cooked it on. You out your element, what type of flow you got? Gordon Ramsay's mediocre in the soul food spot. Ain't no Michelin stars over here's niggas with bars. What I spit is different like the rhythm of Hendrix guitars. My name they wanna mention wrong, how about we send them some darts? When Yondu whistle would send a missile through enemies' hearts. I ain't guarding galaxies, I'm more of a villain. Pardon the way I've been killing lately, I should be charging James Harden's salary. Let's step back to reality.
So as you can see, he's a phenomenal artist, lyricist. So welcome to the show, Supastition.
Peace, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How about yourself?
I'm doing amazing, man.
Yo, I appreciate you coming on this show. This show is about writing, and let me tell you, man, the more and more I've worked with you on doing songs, it made me realize how much doper you are than I thought.
Yo, appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Especially because we've worked on some joints, and we did the traditional. Well, actually, all the songs we worked on before was on everybody else's stuff, right?
Exactly.
So then we did some songs, and it was like no matter what the concept was, I was able to flip it. You was able to flip it from two different perspectives. And it's likewise, like even just working with you was like, bro, like this man he's serious with the pen, man. So
yeah, man. So that's what's been dope. So like me hearing you and doing songs with you, and then just the way it is in life, we don't all people probably bug out, but like even though artists be friends, we don't hear each other's stuff all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially if you got cats that drop a lot of music.
Yeah.
It's just like I don't hear a lot of music in general. So I have to circle back sometimes, or I might see somebody post about a project and I'm like, yo, let me go check this out or whatever. But I'm usually late to the party. So
yeah, me too. So like if you post a single, then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna hear the single because it's only a few minutes. But then when it's like an album for artists, I'm like, all right, let me see, maybe tomorrow I'm home at this time. You got to start scheduling it, like, all right, driving to work.
Because you need time to absorb the album, and like for me on the commute, back and forth to the gig, I have time to listen because my commute's like an hour, so I can either listen to a whole album or I can listen to a podcast.
Right,
it just really depends or whatever. So that helps out a lot. But sometimes, doing music and then going out and promoting music, sometimes you just don't want to hear no music. Like I might listen to talk radio. I might listen to sports radio. I might listen to anything, a sports podcast, anything to kind of just break it up. Because, we're not in our 20s no more. And that's a such thing as too much hip hop, right?
Yo, I'm telling you, man. And like you said, a lot of people dropping like every month and things like that. But then I also gauge it by the fact that I'm hearing artists that are keeping at a certain standard that I kind of like say, okay, I heard that verse, I heard that song, that's dope. I got to go check the project kind of when I'm in that zone to start writing.
Exactly.
Because you can kind of put stuff to the side and then be like I could listen to something later and still get hyped when I'm about to write. But I'll be like, right now, I'm listening to interviews and just in that curiosity bag of like, oh, what's going on in the world and stuff like that. But the rapping and hip hop vibe of it is there because we make music still, but it's kind of become the hobby vibe. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
So I got questions to ask you, as people may think I know everything about you or vice versa because we talk and so on, but like I wanted to do this show basically because I'm in the writing and I wanted to make sure that people that I admire that write rhymes or poetry or whatever get some light from even my fan base, and they might be and vice versa, then people can hear from me on your fan base. So I got some questions to ask you about your writing because I don't know if people know how you write. I don't even know how you write.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just on the song with you and going like this and nodding like, oh, that's crazy right there. Okay.
Right.
What, how you come up with that? So I wanted to ask you, one of the first questions I got is, so you do beats and you songwrite. I didn't even know you did beats until we started working together.
Right.
So which one did you like doing first? And when did you start, I guess, doing beats and producing?
Okay. I started doing beats back in, I think it was 1999, believe it or not.
Wow.
I had gotten like a deal. I think it was like a single deal, and the producer I was working with, I had got like a $2,000 advance for the single, and he was like, "Yo, I want $1,000 a beat." I'm like, "Yo, bro, that leaves nothing for me." So I
Right.
was like, "Yo, to hell with it." I went and I remember I bought my first sampler. It was like the Ensoniq ASR-X. It was like, like the box version of the ASR-10. It wasn't as, as potent as the ASR-10. And
Yeah.
I started making beats, and I bought the ASR-X because I saw my guy Jay Cyanide and his brother Untamed. They were making beats on the red joint, like the ASR-X. So I didn't have the bread for the red one. So I got kind of the stripped down version or the older version.
Yeah.
So I bought that joint, and we would just share ideas, and they would learn from me. I would learn from them. So I was making beats. I produced probably half of my first album. The original version on it that didn't come out, I think I produced almost 100% of it.
Wow.
But back then it was just me just learning how to produce. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I have kind of a love-hate relationship with it, because any producer knows your first batch of beats are probably your worst, right? You're just experimenting, you're just trying to figure out your sound. So for me, I produced for a while, and then I met producers like Jake One, M Phases, and Illmind, and I was like, I'm not better than these guys.
Yeah,
I've
they
got
ain't
a
know.
long way to go. So in the background, I made beats for years, but I just focused on rhyming, because it also takes up a lot of time too, especially when, at that time when I'm trying to produce as much music as possible, I didn't have the time to make beats and, dig for records like I wanted. So I just focused on rapping because I just knew I was much better at rapping. But as far as which one I like better, now I probably like making beats a little bit better because there's no pressure. When I'm
Okay.
writing a song, there's always, and it's, probably subconsciously, a lot of artists have this too, especially once you put out a project and you had some recognition. When you
Right.
write rhymes, it's always in the back of your mind, what are the people going to think? You know what I mean? What, even if we say we don't care, what are the critics going to think, right?
You know
Like,
that. You know that.
when I make a beat, I'm not known for producing, so it's a little bit more fun. And I have I guess I have a little bit more creativity and a little bit more freedom, because
Right.
if I want to make a beat in a traditional boom bap style, I can, right? Or if I want to make something with no drums, if I want to joke around and make some trap stuff, if I want to do whatever type of beat, I can make that, right? But
Yeah.
I can't do that as a rapper. There's only certain things that acceptable for me as an artist without making people go, "What the fuck is he doing?" Like,
Yeah.
so and I'm sure you can relate to that as well too. So, we don't want to be in a box, but the truth is people try to put us in a box. And if
Oh
we do
yeah.
anything
All the
outside
time.
of that, they don't really appreciate it. So I enjoy producing better, but I'm much better at songwriting and rapping because I've been rapping since 1986. So there's no way that that the two would ever be equal. I just haven't put it in as much time as far as production goes.
So then once you got that, yeah, you have the beat first and then you write the rhymes, or you got rhymes written already and then you do the beat. I remember I found out watching like a Gangstar interview. I think Guru had a whole bunch of rhymes and then he would put them on Primo beats.
Right.
I always
Right.
said that was like wow, because you can't tell. Like,
Right. And
but
that's the beauty of the chemistry between them too, to be able to do that.
right, you in there with a book. I used to have a whole bunch of rhymes younger. I
Yeah.
tell people all the time now that you walk up on me, I got no rhymes. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I throw a beat on, I'll freestyle with you, but I don't
Right.
got no rhyme. But
Yeah.
like, so do you like say, all right, I got these rhymes, I'm gonna put it to the beat, or you have to have that beat to give you that vibe for the verse?
Well, it switched up over the years. Before I started producing and had a lot of beats to choose from, I just had rhymes. I had, just songs and ideas. and I would try to find the best beat that matched to the song, that matched to the tempo, that fit
Mhm.
the cadence of it. Now that I'm doing more production and I have access to more beats, now I write to the beats. And sometimes it can be limiting depending on who's producing it,
Yeah.
because I just notice as far as style goes and writing, I think my writing sounds I think my verses and flow sounds better now because as a producer, I know what I want to rap to, right? Versus when I get a praise beat, like the beat is a certain way, and there's only so many ways that I can rap to this beat to me. You know what I mean? So for me, now I'll pick the beat out first. I'll figure out a concept. Usually when I pick a beat, it has to give me some type of feeling, right? Like it just,
Yeah.
you know how it is, man. It's hard to explain it, but the beat has to speak to me. And immediately I have to hear a cadence. I have to hear a certain feeling for it. That's why a lot of, I'm very picky with production. I like to say I'm good at picking beats, but I'm very picky with production because I want a certain vibe. And I now know the difference between a dope beat and a beat that's dope for me. There's plenty of instrumentals and beats that I would love to rap to, but I just don't think I have the tone in my voice to rap to it. I don't think I have the style. Like a lot of beats might be a little bit too happy and upbeat. I just don't have the voice for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
some beats are just kind of dark and like horror movies. Like I don't, bro, that's not that's not me. Doesn't fit my
Yeah. That's
personality.
not my
So
style
over
neither.
the
Yeah.
years, I've kind of figured it out and got it down to a science. But nowadays, I usually write to the beat. There are certain times if it's just a random verse, or we used to call them freestyles, free verse or whatever, then
Right.
I'll just write. I'll just sit down and just write something and then just lay it down over the beat. If it's not really a song, it's just a random verse. Like the IG, like the Instagram freestyles and stuff that I do. I just write, find a beat, and just do what I got to do.
Oh, so when you that's one thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. When you're on Instagram and you posting these verses, I'm like, yo, that's fire, that's fire. But that's just like pretty much a freestyle that you're just giving that verse away for people to be excited about it. That's
Right.
it. You're not, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
features
Yeah.
because usually I post when I'm posting a verse on Instagram, it's a feature or like a couple bars of a feature that I've done. I haven't like taken that step of like I'm gonna particularly write this rhyme for
Mhm.
this beat and post it to the gram. So that's dope. So people probably don't know they're getting exclusive verses
Yeah,
because
yeah. For me, it's
they probably
practice,
think,
right? Like I look
yeah,
at it kind of like an athlete. You're not good just because you're in the game, right? You don't just play when you're in the game. For me, I used to write a lot, like really write a lot. So now
mm,
I'll sit down and I'll, make a beat, write a rhyme, and post it because to me, there's nothing better than that first feeling of when you first write something and you first make a beat and you put it out there or whatever, and it's just like for me, it's just a certain feeling. I think that's why, I've got a lot of love and a lot of engagement for it because it's like, look,
yeah,
this is what I'm feeling, and then once it's done, it's like there it is. I thought about at some point going back and possibly putting them on a release or releasing them all together or
that's
something
what
like
I'm
that too.
thinking. That's what
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
But yeah, it's just for me, it's just fun. It's just practice, man. Just, I just like to jump out the bushes with the AK sometimes. And it just would be a random day of the week. It's just unexpected. Whenever I get the feeling, it's like, yo,
Yeah,
you know what? Let me just go ahead and turn the camera on, turn the beat on, and just do what I do or whatever. Like, I wanted to do more because people like yourself and people didn't know like we're really good at freestyling off the head, but
yeah.
it could also turn into a novelty. You don't want that to be all that you do or whatever, but it's a good tool to have. So
So what about the beats those beats you're making specifically for that Instagram post? Do
yeah,
you
so
if somebody is out there and they because people are gonna probably go back and say, let me go, oh, that verse he did this and that. And do you keep the beat for just that, or are you able to sell that beat to somebody if they want it?
yeah, so usually most of the beats I make is for me first, first and foremost. So
Yeah,
yeah, I actually go back and use some of them. So on my new project, I have a song called When Heroes Fall. That beat started out from an Instagram freestyle. I just made the beat, went in, kicked something off the head. People really loved it. I love the vibe of it. I was like, you know what? Let me go back and write something to it. So sometimes I do go back and use those beats and stuff like that. Or if somebody wanted the beat Yeah, I, would definitely, let it go or whatever, man. But they just have to understand, look, I already put a verse over it or
Yeah,
whatever. So.
I think that's kind of like that. Somebody rhymed to it already vibe. I'm past that vibe now. I
Yeah,
mean, I
yeah,
mean, before it used to be like they rhymed on already, all right. But then now I kind of like, yeah, I'll take it,
yeah.
because I feel like there's so much music out there now from people that you may hear the same beat and I like that version, or it's so much music that you don't even hear the other
Right.
version. You
Yeah.
know what I'm
And
saying?
yeah, and another way to look at it too is, if like these joints I'm doing for social media, everybody's not up on social media like that, right? And then
Really?
also they're not going back listening to that verse or that freestyle every day versus you going in the studio and recording a song. This is become something that becomes a part of a catalog. Like I
Yeah.
might have did a freestyle over it, but then you do a song to it, and now I'm listening. I want to go back and hear that song all the time. You know what I mean? Whenever I can. So it has a little bit more longevity, a little bit more stamina as far as just listening to in the long term. I mean, freestyles or whatever, but going in creating a song is something different. So, yeah, I'm not mad at that at all. Like I don't. To me, if I hear a beat that somebody has rhymed over, freestyled over, and there's been plenty plenty of joints like that. I'm like, yo, I just want to go in and make a song to it. If the producer's cool with it, then that's what I do.
I remember you probably remember there was a time when this beat was getting ran through crazy. Dollar circulate. Remember that
Oh,
joint?
the Ninth
The
Wonder
Ninth
joint.
Wonder?
Yo,
Yo,
I didn't even know who had that beat. Man, I heard.
yo, everybody that was on, I guess it was on YouTube at that time, but
Yeah,
it just everybody was running through that dollar circulate beat. Yo, I was
yeah.
like, I was
I know.
like,
I didn't know who had it
I
because
still liked it.
me being close to the Justice League and everybody. I used to hear
Yeah.
this beat played live. I would hear it online, and I used to hit cats like, "Yo, who has this beat?" And they was like, "Yo, so and so has it." And I'm like, I don't even know that version. I just know the instrumental and people rhyming over it. It was it became an infamous beat.
It became infamous, that dollar circulate, and it was just a fire beat. And
Yeah,
then around that time, people were still doing mixtapes like that. Like I'm rhyming on this for my mixtape, so
right.
you would hear so many versions of it, and so yeah,
Yeah,
man. So I was just wondering, like, letting people know, like, all right, even though he rhymed on it, and I'm not into it. Cause I know if I'm watching those Instagrams, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting a verse on that right there. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Right,
Because you don't,
right.
but you also go. I know I watch him and I'll be like, okay, I'll be thinking it features. So I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah,
like,
yeah,
it's either a feature for his album. So I just be like, it's all good.
yeah, yeah.
I wait till he got something else. So
Right,
when you're
right.
writing, what's the atmosphere is like for you? Like in the studio by yourself, daytime, nighttime. How do you rock with that?
All right. So the main thing I always kind of write by myself. Just and that's always just the way I've been. I grew up as only child of my mother, and there wasn't nobody around. I go in, close the door, work on rhymes. There's been times where I've written in the studio with cats, but I never felt like that's my best material
Mm.
because it's like me up against the clock. You know what I mean? It's almost like a chef on a cooking show, right? You got like 15 minutes to create something amazing versus, me being able to sit back in the comfort of my own home or my own studio and writing. So with me, yeah, I like to cook up stuff alone. And
Yeah.
and a lot of cats don't really like, the fact that, cats send files back and forth together. But I remember the last time being in the studio with somebody, and I realized
Mm.
why I don't go in the studio, right? Like get to the studio, I'm on time. First hour is just set up. Second hour, they're like, yo, let's smoke. I don't smoke. I drink a little bit, not even like that. Right. So
I
two
don't, I
hours have
don't, I
gone
don't
by.
smoke neither. I don't
Right.
smoke, and rarely or if ever. Yep, same thing.
Yeah.
Drink it, all that. Yep.
So I'm like, yo, when are we gonna get to the raps, get to the bars or whatever? By the time we did that, like I write a lot of times I write fast and I record really fast. Like it doesn't
Right.
take a lot of takes for me to knock out my joint. So I'm in there and I've literally did 15 minutes of work, but I've been sitting here for 2 hours. So so I like recording in my own home. You know, and then me too. A lot of people don't know I'm very like introverted or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, don't let
Yeah,
the persona fool you. Like, I kind of keep to myself. The cast that
yeah,
I'm really cool with, of course, I talk to, you know, frequently, no
yeah.
problem. But yeah, I like being by myself, yo, being with the fam, and that's how it is, man.
So how about well, how long does it take you? You said like 15 minutes. You could write the rhyme in 15 and be out, or if would you prefer longer time than that? How do you work with time in writing? Is it
Yeah.
short time or longer better?
Well, it takes longer to write. Now, recording, I can record something in like
Okay.
15, 10 minutes. Now I'm faster at writing, but that's only because I'm not starting from a clean slate. And I think
Okay.
I explained this on a Rap-Matic podcast, the Beat Junkies joint, was that now every day, almost every day, you know, I'll write down a dope line, a dope idea, save it in my phone or whatever, or write it down on paper and something like that. So when I do get time to sit down and create a rhyme, I'm not just starting from scratch, you know,
Yeah.
because a lot of times I have limited time. Like, you know, I might have 2-3 hours away from the fam to kind of work and get it in. So I don't have time to sit there. I don't have 2 or 3 hours to waste. Like, I have to be as
Right.
efficient as possible. So I have tons of lines and ideas. I'm talking like I've got notebooks full of just lines that I've never said, cadences. And you know, this another way that I write is, you know, I'll write down words and then they'll have
Yeah.
a paper full of you know, line other words that rhyme with that word or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It makes
Yeah.
no sense or whatever. You know what I mean? It might be like
Yeah.
Wordsworth, you know, her purse, you know, first
Yeah.
hearse. You know what I mean? And it would make no
Yeah.
sense to
You
the
got
average
you
person.
got that the puzzle pieces. That's what I call them.
Exactly. That's
It got
exactly
it
what
got
it is.
I got all these. So for me, it would be in my notes.
Yes.
So in my notes, and to keep track, I gotta put rhymes, June, whatever the year,
Yeah.
or the month. I gotta put a specific date because then I can recall how when the last time I wrote that or when I
Okay.
started this rhyme. Because other than that, if I just put rhymes, I might delve into something I might have used too,
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
like
yeah,
because it's
yeah,
so old or whatever.
yeah,
But yeah, I try to keep track of the rhymes like that too, and just having a whole bunch of rhymes written around and trying to piece them together. So that's I think a lot of us kind of do that. So what
yeah.
about, do you believe in writer's block?
Not really, man.
Okay.
For me, I think for writer's block is depends on who you're trying to impress. Like a lot of these songs I'm doing now is based on like my personal life and experiences and
Yeah.
like that. So it's like I don't get writer's block because I can write something about what's going on. As far as if I'm just trying to come up with a concept song that's
Yeah.
just away from everything that's kind of related to me, then maybe there's some writer's block there. But like I said, I'm never starting from an empty palette. So that's what helps me a lot. And even with when it comes down to even making beats, like, you know, I've got samples put aside, I got drums put aside, I got, you know, all this stuff put aside because for me, that was the only way to really overcome the writer's block. But yeah, I'm never working from like an empty canvas, so it doesn't really affect me like it used to. And then also because I don't write full songs as much as I used to. Like
Yeah.
back when I used to write 2-3 times a day, you know, 2-3 songs a week or something like that, or even more, then I would get writer's block because you know it's almost like factory work. You just sitting here just cranking out songs, and then in your head you start to say, well, damn, this sounds a lot like the last song that I did, or this flow starts to sound kind of, you know,
Yeah.
has like a
You
certain
might you
formula
might
to
even
it, you
use
know?
a word that you be like, I thought I just said negotiate.
Yeah.
Like,
You know, as writers, I think we have that, right? Like you can listen to a rhyme that you wrote and you could tell what like error you were in. And you know what I'm saying? It's just like I was using certain things so much.
yeah, you start getting into that flow, and you've recorded one and you kind of throwing it away because it's done, but then you start writing the next one and then you write and you be like, I think I used that word already. I
Yeah.
guess because you're just so used to the momentum of it that you're
Yeah.
like, I'm just writing and going with it.
Yeah.
So when you're writing, so now here you go, are you on that paper still? You on that computer? Or you phoning it like that, you with the phone, or you right. And that I've seen all the styles now, man. And I can't do the writing in the head like that. That's not me. So where you at with it?
All right. So for one, I mean, I have done a song, just writing, well, not writing, but just kind of creating it in my head. But I'm very forgetful, right? Like for me, that I would be like the movie Memento, right? Like I got this idea, kids walk in, hey dad, do this, blah, blah, blah. I come back, I sit down, I'm like, I don't remember nothing that I just said. So that kind of scratches that for me, right? Like I'm just way too forgetful and absent-minded to be that type of person. As far as the phone goes, I'll write down ideas and some lines, but as far as writing a verse, I always have to use paper. I tried to do computers and phones, but then I realized that, not only do I like writing, I like the exercise of writing something down on paper. Like it gives me like a thrill. Same way producers like to dig for records. And you know what I mean? It just gives them a certain feeling. And that's how I am with the paper. Like I like the exercise of seeing words written on paper and things like that too. And then as far as how I write my rhymes, and I feel like maybe a couple other people have done this, and I think Tone Deaf does it as well, if I'm not mistaken. But being that my flow sometimes is so wordy, when I write a rhyme, there's symbols on the paper to show where the first kick should land or like where the snare should land, because and I've got symbols over it. Like for me, there's like a squiggly line over it that tells me I need to speed up in that place or whatever, right? Because what would happen was I used to write so much, I put the lyrics down, come back to it like 3 months later, and I can't figure out where I'm supposed to start in the verse. Like, especially if you're a person that deals with a lot of cadences and wordplay, things like that. So now if there's like like a circle or a dot over it, even if I might start before the beat with the rhyme, then I know when I see that symbol, that's where I'm supposed to land on that first hit, that on the one, right?
Wow.
And then so and I have that almost on every line or whatever. It's crazy. People pick it up and they see different symbols and things like that, and they're like what's going on here? And this tells me where to slow down, where to speed, where to pause, different things like that, man. So it's kind of I've got it down to a science that
it's like your own hieroglyphics.
I can understand.
It's almost like your own hieroglyphics for writing.
Right. Yeah, if I showed it to you, you would be like, "Yo, that's just kind of crazy, man."
Hey, man, you got to show it to me. I was gonna ask you as soon as we got off here. Send me some pictures of that, because
okay, all right, for sure.
I want to show people show people at home, what you're talking about.
You can get to see the verse, like I'll send the verse, the recorded verse, and what it looks like on the paper or whatever. I think that'd be kind of cool to see too.
Yeah, that's what I want people to see. So then, what's the other thing as far as like, are you rewriting the rhyme over on a new piece of paper if you make a mistake? So how you see what I'm saying? You starting fresh, brand new paper. Because I've seen I got a friend, she does that. She'll write it. If she got to change a line, she can't do the cross out, rewrite the whole thing over.
Yeah. So now I won't start it over just for a line, but if I see there's a bunch of mistakes and I'm marking things out or whatever, or there might be like two lines that, a lot of times when I write two, I'll switch, the lines around, like what could be the first bar and the second bar. I realize, this might be more powerful to have this line at the second bar or something like that. So if I've written a rhyme or some lyrics or song and the paper just looks too messy, I have to rewrite it. But other than that, I've kind of figured it out. I've looked at it. And then like if I gotta sometimes I used to have the rhymes would be so long I have to tape like two pieces of paper together when I'm recording it, because in the studio you can't be flipping the paper over during the tape or whatever,
Yeah, so. And the sound get into the mic and all of that. So
right.
Yeah, so that's wild. So being that, like I was saying earlier, and for those that don't know, I got Supastition on like several. He's on my new album, but like almost every time I'm trying to do a feature, I call him to rhyme on something.
Yeah, we got joints, man.
Yeah, we got joints. So when I hear his verse, or I'm anticipating his verse, even if I send him my verse first, I just know the verse is coming back fire. So
Appreciate it.
what I think people don't understand from your perspective and from my perspective, or a lot of people that we may envy perspective, is how do we maintain, like, you get asked, yo, how do you write that rhyme? Like, how do you, the quality control? So how do you know that, like, the verse is fire? You know what I'm saying? Like, because we could think things are fire a lot, because that's how you get some artists that aren't saying fire, because they think everything is fire. You know what I'm saying? But I think when you get to a certain level and hearing from our peers, we kind of know. But how do you gauge it when you're sitting there writing that rhyme that you say, words, I got the verse done, I'm laying it tonight, this, or whoever you're working with, you're about to send them that verse and you're confident in it?
Yeah. So for me, it's got to be because, for one, I am an advocate and a very, very tough critic when it comes to lyrics and flow. I'm meticulous with it. So, and it's because I listen to a lot of artists and I study a lot of artists still to this day. Even when I started out rhyming, I would
Right.
study what made Rakim different, what made Big Daddy Kane different. You know what I mean? Why does their flow sound like, what separates them from, the professionals and the locals, right? And a lot of it was just breathing and cadences and things like that. So for me, I listen to artists like yourself. I listen to the Elzais, Royce's, the cast that's got bars. I listen Brother Ali, whoever, and I sit back and I kind of study and say, well, all right, this is how they base their flow. I see certain things that they're doing, because it's like, if I don't, I would feel like I'm the guy using the Mac from 1998, right? Like, because if you get on it, you just don't know, right? You just do what you do.
Yeah.
I got homies like that, and it's no disrespect to them, but they rap exactly the same way that they rapped back in 1998. There's no difference. There's no progression. So for
Yeah.
me, I just pay attention to a lot that's going on. I listen to a lot, and I just hold myself to a high standard, because I always look at it like, I write from the perspective that nobody's ever heard me before, so I have something to prove. I hardly ever get on a song and say, "Well, all right, I'm Superstition. I'm just do my verse." They know what I do, because the few times that I've done that, I've gotten my ass kicked on songs. Right? There's certain joints that I'm like, "Yo, if I knew certain people would have been on this song, or if I knew this song would have kind of taken off the way that it did, I would have did it a little bit more." So now I treat every verse like it's the last time people gonna hear me, and it's the first time that people gonna hear me at the same time. So
So, all right. So, in that vein, how did you know that verse wasn't as crazy as it could have been? You know what I'm saying? Is it because the time you put into it, you didn't sit with it long enough? Because when you get back the other version, you're like, I would have went crazier if I would have known
yeah,
these people on it. So, um, when, I guess, how do you know, like, yo, this verse is fire, but I would have went crazier? Because I
yeah.
assume that whatever you send me is stamped. You get what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
So
Nowadays, yeah, definitely. And I'll
okay,
use a basketball analogy, because I know we're both into basketball, right? And
yeah.
I'm a Tar Heels fan, and this like frustrates me with the Tar Heels. Is like, yo, you play so good against certain teams, but then other teams you just, you know what I mean? For
I
me
got
as a
you.
writer, that's what I felt was like, if
Okay,
I
hold
know,
on.
okay,
Because we know about this, you got the beat wasn't good, and you kind of was like, I'm not inspired by the beat the way
right.
that it would take me there.
Hmm.
And so you writing because of that beat. So it's similar, like you're saying, like maybe you're playing a team that you like, we gonna, but you know what I'm saying? So is it the
Right.
beat sometimes that does that?
Yeah, most of the time I will say it's the beat, and it's usually
Okay.
features, because especially cats that send you features and you give you like one beat, you don't even get to choose, right? It's like, hey, I want you to be on this beat. Here's what the topic is, and it's so
Right.
limiting, right? I can give you, the traditional Superstition verse. So a lot of times, like you said, if the beat doesn't stand out, or if there's other rappers on the song that, just not to say anybody's inferior, but there's always, you can tell there's a difference in level of skill. then it's just like, I'm not going to give you 100% of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just different, right? Like, it's different if the homie from the block is, you doing a song with the homie from the block, but somebody tells you, yo, Words, you got Superstition on the song, or you got Fonte on the song, you got Sky Zoo Torre. Like,
Right.
there's a different bag that you in for that. So
the time I'm taking in general, once I know that's what's going on, I already know I'm putting in these extra time. The extra time got to be with the rhyme.
Yeah, the perfect example is the joint with Kweli, Midas, and I think it was like Nico. I'm like, yo, man, I forgot what the name of the joint is, but
Live
the one y'all had a video for.
Oh, Live from the Blue Note.
Yeah. Yo, man, I remember hearing that, and I think I was hanging out with John Doe and Eddie Meeks from Southern Vanguard. And we like, yo, that Words verse, like, fam, like but that's what I'm talking about. It's a different level, right?
Yo, you know what? Well, speaking of all of that, because speaking of dope artists, what made me make sure my rhyme was crazy like that was Midas setting it off
all the time. That guy,
right? So I just did another feature with Midas for his project with Sharp too, but it's that vibe. So like I'm listening to it and I'm like, it's similar to you rhyming to me. When you're rhyming, y'all not letting the track win. That's how I look at writing rhymes. I look at it like boxing, and my main thing is I can't let the beat beat me.
Yeah,
that's how I roll. So when I hear Midas rhyme, he's not giving no space, no let up, so nothing.
Everything.
Yeah. He's on that Trump's consonant, like Ghost and Consonant. You're like, oh my goodness, you know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
And it's the same thing with you. You know what I'm saying? You be like Call of Duty games, and I'll be like, what? These guys is not. Y'all not leaving no room to make me even think y'all letting up. So for me with that, it was Midas verse on there, Punch verse AL, and Nico was on there, and then I did my verse in there. I think Quali might have been on the version I had too, but like overall, Midas set the tone for me. Mm-hmm. So that goes to what you're saying, like hearing other people set that tone, it definitely could be different from your tone by yourself when you got to be by yourself. I mean, and that could be aggression. That you might come on, rasp, the rock flows and this and that. Somebody come on, you'd be like, oh, I'm a bit sounding mad smooth.
Yeah, exactly, man. That's real.
I get you.
Collabos is like relay races, right? Like you get somebody hand it off, you got to take it and go with it or whatever, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you one more point on that before I move on to your storytelling ability. Okay. I remember when I used to hear Def Squad, when I used to always hear those Def Squad posse joints, I used to always act as if I had the last verse. And I will write what my last verse would be coming after all these.
Right, that's fire.
You know what I'm saying? And that and like I gotta outdo them. So listening to you rap, like, and us doing songs and so on, like I think you don't get the props for the storytelling.
Word, appreciate that, man.
That you deserve. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know if people heard you rhyme enough, because we both got different fan bases. It would be the same possibly if some of your fans heard some of my stuff, be like, I didn't even know Words rhyme like that. I think a lot of times people are just missing out, but you're able to tell a story, and then with that story, you're able to like share things that are like vulnerable or like real true to life things that you got going on. So tell me about why is that important to you to be so vulnerable, storytelling and pinpointing things?
Okay. So for one, like storytelling, I'm just coming up as an artist. It was one of them things, especially from our era. It was one of them things I felt like you had to have, right? You had to be able to rap with the best of them. You had to be able to make different type of songs. You always had to have that one storytelling joint. But coming up, listening to Slick Rick, Coogee
Yeah.
Rap, Ice Cube. I would kind of study the way that they tell stories, because and also I was listening to a lot of soul and R&B, because a lot of times they have to tell stories, but they don't use as many words as we do as rappers. So,
Yeah.
every line has to mean something. So as far as like storytelling with my personal stuff, I realize is that nobody can tell my story better than I can tell it, right? Like we can all go through the same things, but you won't tell your story the way that I tell it. And I feel like I tapped into something and I realized that I'm different at that. I think I stand out at being able to express my feelings, because one thing that I listened to hip hop and I realized what's missing is emotion in hip hop. Well, there's emotion in hip hop, but you've got anger, you've got just head nod.
Right.
There's not a lot of vulnerability in hip hop. Not the way it was before. I think it's reaching that now. People don't talk about, mental health and things like that. So for me, I felt like that was a lane for me because I'm able to express myself. And I think there's not a lot of it because overall, just dudes and men in general aren't good at expressing their feelings like that.
Mm.
A lot of them may come from a background where, um, you know, they had to suppress their feelings. And I think that carries over into hip hop because you don't want to be that guy that puts your story out there and you think you're being vulnerable and honest, and you end up getting a battle with somebody and they calling you out for everything that you just, so it's
Right.
and just like we just saw with with Kendrick and Drake thing or whatever, you know what I mean? It's just a lot of people just don't open up like that. For me, it's not about that. It's healthy for me
Okay.
because before I realized I had other emotions to show, but all of my early releases, all it came out is it's just being angry. I just had to learn how to express myself, and then also to being with my day job now, like I'm in the corporate world now, and I have to talk to people, so I have to be able to get my point across with a small amount of time. I have to be able to be effective with communicating with them and all of that. So I think that all plays into storytelling. But I really appreciate that. That was one of the things too. Like I used to do a lot of storytelling stuff, and I'm like, I don't think people are understanding like this, like, there's
Yeah.
certain joints, like a baby story, there's a lot of different joints that I have, and I used to try to put a storytelling one on each project. And eventually it's on my bucket list, but I wanted to do a storytelling joint because Prince Among Thieves is one of my favorite projects of all time. And shout out to
Yeah.
Breeze Brewing and Prince Paul, man. But yeah, I would love to do something like that, and I think I will. It's kind of in my bag. I have a idea of what I want to do, but I don't know if people really appreciate the storytelling like they used to,
I'm gonna touch on 2 points that you made about the storytelling. What I realized, why I did what Words Are Worth Volume 1, the book that I wrote, was because I started seeing books about rappers that other people were saying what the rapper meant by that.
Right.
So it was getting into that Shakespearean stuff. Like, you know
Mhm.
how like today people say, so what do you think he meant by that when he wrote this line? And
Right.
I was kind of like, and then what I didn't like was the wrong interpretations. I'm like, yo, they
Yeah, because
saying,
people get it wrong. People really do get it
they
wrong.
get it, they be getting it wrong.
You ever looked at Genius? You'd be like, that wasn't what I meant to say.
That's not what I said, and then you get people that are kind of co-opting the hip hop thing and like, oh, this is what's going on out here. I like this artist because they're popular, but they don't really delve into knowing what the slang means and stuff.
Mhm.
So I was just like, I want to do books based on my albums and give everybody the interpretation of what it is. So there is no guessing. There's not
Yeah,
going to be no mistake because it's coming from me with that.
yeah,
Um,
that's a great idea, man.
so I felt that. And then what you doing the storytelling for me, knowing you and doing songs with you all these years, I really had to delve back into your catalog to see like what you've done. Cause like I said, a lot of times we're friends and we're rapping and coming out and dropping stuff, but we don't get to hear each other's albums.
Yeah.
That would be nearly impossible to name all my friends and say I heard everybody's album. That's just insane.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would be
Especially,
insane.
and we've been in the game for a while as well. So it's not like we got 2 albums to go back and listen to. Like we talk catalogs, you know.
Right. And I respect that, and I love that about being friends with the people I know, is that nobody's offended by that, understanding that life is happening.
Yeah.
And it's dope because it's almost like a family reunion when we rhyme together.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I always tell people too, because people are like, yo, you didn't hear my shit. I'm like, bro, you didn't make this album for me. You made this for your fans, right? Like you shouldn't be making albums for other rappers to hear anyway. Like if they do hear it, then that's a blessing. And if they love it, they'll show you love or whatever. But yeah, for the most part, like I don't, I definitely don't take that personal.
Yeah, I don't take it personal. So making commercial underground songs, right? Being that you've seen the game, the evolution of it, we've seen the divide in the 90s commercial backpack. We've been through all the terms and what it is. What's from hearing you earlier, it sounded like you were on the vibe of like just making joints that are dope and whatever the vein of what it is. Is there that tug of war that you have about when you're making the album? Like, yo, this joint sound a little too commercial. Let me bring it back a little bit. Or this song sound too underground. Ain't nobody gonna mess with this. Let me take it up a notch that is more universal. So there's a tug of war going on. What's that like for you?
As far as just from the beat selection, I could already know I'm not gonna go too commercial. I'm just not that type of artist.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I listen to commercial music. I listen to all type of stuff. It's just I don't think that's for me. Now I have done some commercial stuff, and in a sense where like I've literally done commercials for companies and things like that too.
Yeah.
But I always got to keep it genuine for me. But I just don't think, I don't really look at anything as like being too commercial, being too underground for me, because I know my sound. I know the Supastition sound, right? Like there's like we talked about, there's just certain beats that's just not for me,
Right.
And I heard the guy he reviewed like one of my projects before, and he was like, one thing about Supastition, he's gonna pick great beats, but he's not going to pick beats outside of the realm of what Superstition does or whatever. And I'm like, that's very true. And I think for me, I realize it's a personality thing. Like I'm one of those people that, there's certain things that I eat when I go to a restaurant, right? Like I'm not going to be the dude to try some crazy stuff and just
Me
not
neither.
for me. So my palette with music is the same thing, right? Like it's just, like it may be good for other people, but it's just not good for me. There's things that I feel like I stand out more, and as putting years in the game, I think I'm better at it. But as far as stuff being too underground,
I wanted to say one thing about that though. I wanted to say I don't want people to confuse the fact that you're not willing to do these other songs. You might, because I think hearing you and knowing you're a songwriter, you're a writer.
Absolutely.
So, they can hire you to write a song that may be, like you said, commercials. It could be whatever the case may be. You're not shunning the fact that people should be open to writing everything else, but you know what was best for you.
Yeah, I've written songs too. I've even did some ghost writing, especially for international artists. Some pop songs, like I did a pop song for for a female rapper, and if you heard it, you would have never thought I wrote this joint or whatever, right? But I mean, I could do it because I listen to all different types of music. But for me, I just don't have that type of voice. Even like when I listen to music now, commercial music, I was like, yo, there's really not a lot of dudes out with like deep voices, right? Like, like you got, you have Pop Smoke and, but it's like everybody has a really, really light voice. And it's just like, I wouldn't fit into that anyway. You know what I'm saying? And plus, with the age I am, I'm like a dinosaur to these kids right now. So, but yeah. And some stuff is too underground because it's just like, it sounds unfinished. If it sounds unfinished, it's too underground for me. Right?
Yeah, how I gauge when I'm making songs and making music, like when it first started, it was like that vibe of like making joints on there, trying to prove who you are, then getting into the storytelling. And then now, then I learned like, you know, I don't play my album for my wife a lot of times, like the whole
Yeah,
album. I play certain songs that she's gonna like. I'm not playing the mega like I'm battling people or I sound like, I'm not
right.
that. She don't care about that. That's why,
Yeah,
it's good to make sure when you're playing and making these records, try to play them to some people that have the average ear for
yeah,
certain songs. You know what I'm saying? Like I
yeah,
think people have to do that and not be afraid to do that.
yeah. I
So
used to play. I used to play music, my songs for my wife as I was recording them. Now she hears it when it comes out, and if I ain't gonna lie, you know how it is, yo. When you hear your wife listening to your music, you just like, oh, that hit different, right? Like one day, my wife, she came to, I was at the house or whatever, and I was like, yo, let's just ride together, and she came pick me up. I got in the car, and she was blasting my music, and I just looked, and it was like, yeah, I'm still that dude, right? It's a certain feeling, so.
Oh, man. Yeah, man. So, all right, man. We talk about this a lot as far as working and rapping because I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
You're an engineer, right?
You're an
Um,
engineering manager. I'm like a project manager, so yeah,
project manager.
yeah,
So as far as that, we both know that we got a balanced life and we work, but we love rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like we
yeah,
love rapping and making music, but we know that we got to deal with life. I've had multiple jobs over the years and still rap and tour and stuff like that. So I ask you about this because I remember seeing on Twitter somebody, yo, when you touring, you was like dead in it. You just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, what's that vibe like now when people are asking these expectations of you, knowing you as Superstition, and then they like, man, I can't when I'm gonna see you at a show.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's so with music, and I've said this before. With music, I only do the things that I like to do because I can do that now.
Yeah,
I used to do a lot of things before because they told us this is what you have to do to be in a game. This is what you have to do to be successful. Even as a brother growing up in New York, they used to tell me, yo, you got to go to New York if you want to deal, you want to get accepted. And we used to drive to New York. That's how I ended up meeting like Pumpkinhead. You know what I'm saying? I'm driving
yeah,
to Jersey, different things. Meeting Asan and Golden Child, and meeting Jr. back then, Lil Si.
yeah.
It's just certain things that we used to have to do. As far as touring, when I did my last tour in 2015 with Blueprint, I told him on that tour, I said, bro, I think this is my last tour. It was 60 cities. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I could ever be away from my family for that long.
60 cities, 60
Yeah,
cities is
60 cities, bro.
insane, yo. That's
Yeah, man. Yeah,
insane. I
it's
mean,
it's crazy. And
I
that's
wouldn't
not even counting the off
even
days, right? Like
that's insane. I would
yeah,
at this stage where we are, I would do a 60 city joint if I'm bringing the fam.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Right? Because like you
yeah,
said, the fam, missing the fam. Like if I'm doing 60 cities, I'm gonna have to deduct money from the tour from my
right.
whatever I got to do to get it going. But we're
Yeah.
gonna for me, I don't mind going out if I'm doing shows. I did Orlando Love and Loyalty weekend for
Mhm.
Low Lives Thursday time. We go do that. I don't mind coming out if you take care of things, but I'm like you. I'm like, yo, if I'm at home, I'm at home. I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind touring, but you know, I understand why I am with what it is, but I do enjoy doing the shows, but it gotta make sense, y'all.
Yeah,
It gotta
yeah,
make
yeah,
sense.
yeah. I
And
could do spot dates as far as
spot
like you
date.
said, as far as touring, it's just bro, it's just not for me no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Yeah.
in my 40s now. I ain't trying to
Yep.
be sleeping in no Super 8. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't always have the flyest hotels and all of that. And that's not even, I just realized I'm just way too domesticated for this shit, right? Like
I
you know,
feel very, very in the same vein.
yeah.
So before we go, your studio setup,
Okay.
making beats or recording, what's gonna be your top 5 things you need to have in the studio to make these beats or recording?
All right. So for me, main thing I use is the machine. I use the MK3, but I do all my um chopping the samples in Serato sample. I just like
Okay.
the workflow a lot better. Some people don't like it, but it's it kind of sets up like little key points instead of like actually being destructive to the actual wave file or whatever. So I use that a lot. As far as recording, I was using the Rode NT1A, but I upgraded. I got the Warm Audio tube condenser mic. I think it's a WA. I think it's 67 or whatever. I can't see it from here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that um as far
I'm
as
look. You
I got this.
made me look at my mic for a second. I was looking at what mic I had for a second. I got
Yeah,
it. I got it.
as rappers, right? We don't, even though we have equipment, we don't. I'm not like a gearhead, so I don't know at all.
Right.
As far as I have this joint. It's called a really nice compressor. To me, you can get that joint for like $100 or less than $200. It's like a compressor. It's a game changer for me, especially at that price range. I use that. What else do
Is
I
it better?
have?
Let me ask you a question. This compressor, is it better than using a plugin? Just like on a, you know what I'm saying?
You probably could. You probably could, but I
Okay.
want some type of hardware. Like, so even like right now, I'm running all of my stuff through a, what is this joint? It's a Mackie Pro Effects, right? Like I like to have the board in front of me. So there's certain things that I can use as far as plugin goes and VSTs, but I like to have hardware in front of me. I'm just old school like that. It's just I
Okay.
like to, adjust the volume on certain things here and there and stuff like that too. So, but yo, those are the main things. Of course,
Okay.
pen and pad or pencil and pad, and I always got to write on college rule paper because I think that's
Wow.
probably like one of the few things with me is because why rule paper, especially for somebody who writes, their stuff is wordy and you need more lines. I need more lines because college rule gives you more lines than wide rule. So that's just like a little thing that I've always had, man.
Man, well, yo, Superstition, man, I appreciate you coming on the show, taking your time. I know, like, life got brothers running around and trying to find time as it is.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to, let you know, man, how dope you are. And like I said, even though I've known you through these years, I feel like I'm catching up to how dope you are. Even though having records with you and everything, I think I would say you're underrated. You know what I'm
Thank
saying?
you.
So I've at times have to start switching up my top tens now because
Yeah.
because I if I don't have enough evidence of your top tens a lot of time is usually the names we already know because we've
Hmm.
heard 10 of their albums.
Yeah.
But like the more I'm getting to hear my friends such as you, I'm able to start being like, I'm gonna have to start shuffling this thing. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? I gotta
Thank you.
start
I appreciate the
shuffling.
kind words, man. And for
Yeah.
me, like, it's crazy because I have for like a top 10, I got certain like top 10 artists that I just go to listen to for inspiration, right?
Right.
Like it doesn't always have to be like my top 10 rappers of all time, but I know
Right.
if I need some inspiration, or I would think, yo, how would Words attack this, or how would Blue attack this, or you know what I mean? Like it was just
Yeah.
there's certain artists that you just go to and listen to, and you definitely in there, man. Because I like, for one, you're not afraid to rap about anything. Like concept joints, you're gonna deliver on that, and I could tell you're meticulous with your words and your word
I
choices
try.
and everything. So like I said, I study. That's why when we do joints, it's like steel sharpening steel, man. It's like
That's
mirror
it.
match, right?
That's what it is. So give everybody your handle, social media, the way to get in touch with you, and so on and so forth.
Okay. All right. Well, the hub is superstition.com. That's SUPA Stition. On IG it's at Superstition. On Twitter it's at superstition_NC. I think somebody got the Superstition name. They posted once, and But other than that, yeah, superstition.bandcamp, and all of my stuff is on streaming. I'm proud to say I own pretty much 99.9% of everything that you see that I'm
Dope.
promoting that's on my page. I think with the exception of the Williams, that's with Nicolay. That's like the one song I don't own. I think OK Player owns that. But other than that, everything that you support goes directly to me, helps take care of the fam. And I always try to tell people it pushes me to finance other projects, right? Because
Yeah.
like I try even though, I make money off of outside of music, we don't like to come out of our pockets and finance things from that, right? I would like for the music to finance the music and keep it going. So,
Yeah.
you know, that's the way that if you want more projects, keep supporting them joints, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so thank you for being here. Another episode of What Words Are Worth. And I ask y'all out there, what are your words worth? Until next time, peace.
Peace, y'all.
Sign up now at elevate.miami.edu for my course, Organized Rhyme. Looking at the word legacy, while involving some wordplay, I'll use the first syllable to build upon. We'll use the first syllable, leg. For the second syllable, we'll use an. And for the third syllable, we'll use the word knee. So now we have leg and knee. Can we use it in context with legacy? Let's just see. Wordsworth Productions with a S.com for all merch. I got 2 books available right now. What Words Are Worth Volume 1, and also have a children's book called Socks. Age range from 12 to 15, so it's kind of like the middle school and high school age range, but adults can read it as well. Shout out to our sponsor, the Wizker. If you're into skincare, the Wizker will help prevent razor bumps and make sure you got smooth skin all around. Make sure you order it on Amazon, the Wizker. Make sure you check out Wordsworthproductions.com. There you can book me if you want to book me for shows, consultations, panels, and things of that nature. And also it'll give all the upcoming shows that I'll be attending or performing at or appearing at as well. Wordsworthproductions.com. We write plays, books, movies, anything that deals with writing and creativity. Contact us.